Hey everybody, today I have my Italian firearms group, Defiant Limited Pro, and I'm going to show you how I set this gun up for IDPA. It seems that some people think that there's a bunch of stuff you have to do, or that the gun's not going to be legal in any iteration for IDPA, which just isn't true. Some of the older versions of this gun that were imported by EAA supposedly were a little bit too long on the beaver tail here, so they wouldn't fit in the box. But the newer versions, for sure, the Defiant versions brought in by IFG, don't have the same sort of issues. So, for the most part, everybody has, you live by the scale and you die by the scale when it comes to IDPA as far as the weight of the gun goes. And from the factory, in this configuration, it does work if you're right-handed. A lot of the issue, too, that people seem to be a little confused about is like the width of the safety here. If you're right-handed and you're not really worried about the, having an ambi safety, it's going to work just fine for that. But, if you are a left-handed person and you want to get a good ambi safety, like, say, one of these, that came off of my stock 2, this is going to put you over the legal length for this gun to fit in the box. So I'll show you a few little things that I've done to make this gun make weight and fit in the box without any issues. All right, you see here I got out my scale, typical of any IDPA match if you go to, where they're going to weigh your gun at the equipment check-in. If we put the stock gun on here, configure-wise, we're at 2 pounds 10 ounces, 10.5 ounces, which is half an ounce under the legal weight limit, which is all good and well, but that's if you want to run this gun dead stock. One thing that I don't particularly like about this gun in its stock configuration are these grips. They look really cool. They look like some grips that came on like the Smith & Wesson Pro Series, like 9mm 1911s back in the day that were really cool. They were made by a company called like Roco or something like that. But, if you're wanting to run some grips, something nicer that has a little bit of purchase, like these grips that I have right here, these were custom made for me by Locke. They're like the flat panel grips, but they're a little bit wider to give it kind of more of a factory profile. But the issue with that is, if I take some factory grips here, these are the wood ones, we're 0.8, 0.9 ounces, not too bad. But if I put these on, we're at 2.1 ounces, which is going to automatically throw this gun right over the top as far as weight limit goes. And then, if you also, want to run nicer base pads so that you don't run the risk of your gun, cracking a base pad when you drop it, I'm already over with just the extra base pads. So if we run those, we're at 2 pounds 13.2 ounces. That's going to be way too much for any IDPA match. So there are a few things that you can do, one of which will definitely help right off the bat, and that is this guy. This is a Patriot Defense part. It is an aluminum guide rod that has also been lightened with some little holes cut in there. It's substantially lighter than the steel guide rod that came with the gun, and it will make pretty much the whole setup, including these, right on the limit. I still don't think you can run that, but let's pop this in real quick and see what weight we're at. All right, so what I've done now is I've switched out the guide rod to the aluminum guide rod now, and with just the setup that we have, including the heavier magazine, you now make weight just a little bit under from just changing one part and actually have another upgraded part. The issue we're going to run into again is if you're trying to run with these on there, you're going to be overweight again. I don't have any of the aluminum grips around, so I have no idea if they would actually work with that. But there is another part that I've got that I use to complete my setup to where I can run anything I like on it, and that is these guys. These are Locke grips as well. Same company that does these, but if you get a hold of Locke, they will do a big deep cutout in the grips for you. These grips only weigh 0.1 ounce more than the factory wood grips, which will give you way, way more than enough room as far as the scale goes to do anything you want to the gun. Let me pop all this on here real quick, and I will show you how it's turned out for me. When installing G10 grips, make sure to use some O-rings to keep the screws from backing out. The material is so hard that the screws don't hold very well. Also, these are factory profile grips. The only place I've seen to buy those is either from Ben Steger Pro Shop or from Lock themselves. But to get the lightweight versions that I have, you have to get those directly from Lock. Okay, so I got the grips on the gun now with the heaviest magazine that I would possibly be using for a match. And if we weigh it, I'm at 10.7 ounces, 2 pounds, 10.7 ounces, which gives us the ability to kind of do whatever we want in IDPA as far as ESP goes. I have some internal work done and the hammer work done on this, so this wouldn't work for SSP, but you should be able to, even with just the grip addition on there, run this gun in SSP. I'd have to double check to see what's up with the guide rod on that. I'm not 100% sure. But also for me, I don't particularly like this safety. Issue I have with it, it does give you a really nice place to set, but when my support hand comes in, I tend to bump the safety up and on, which obviously is a big problem. A solution I found for that is I have this safety. This is the stock safety. I think it's like part 14.1 or something like that. You can get these from EAA, like Ben Steger Pro Shop has them, Patriot Defense has them as parts. It's like 20, 25 bucks, something like that. Just got to do a little fit work right there to make it work. But this works, and this lets me start the gun in single action mode easily for ESP, and I don't bump the safety on as bad. For USPSA, I tend to use this safety since I'm just starting in double action mode, and I don't really keep my thumb up on the safety like that since it sits a little too low. This is a Unica part. It is pretty flat. It's basically like the CZ, like flat safeties you see on like the Shadow 2s and some of the Shadowline pistols that they do. These are I think like 30 bucks or something like that as well. It basically to me just looks like this safety that they just like cut the nub off of, which it actually probably is exactly that. So if you have one of these and you want to do it, you can just, file that down. But this is what I have. For me, this thing has been an absolute monster for IDPA. Feels very similar to a 1911 as far as recoil and things like that go, but you get the added capacity, bigger mag well built in, and honestly, the trigger is absolutely phenomenal. Very, very clean break for me. I have like a 15.5-pound spring on there. There's always talk about Tanfoglios being a little bit finicky when it comes to primers, and I will say I definitely had some issues with this gun when I very first got it, or not this one, but a stock 2 that I had, similar gun. Not wanting to set off stuff with like CCI primers and things like that. A lot of it had to do with me not really seating my primers deep enough, so modified my reloader so that it would work for that. But I typically just use Winchesters anyway. But if you're using a strong enough hammer spring, you're really not going to have an issue. So anyway, hope this helps. It's a fantastic gun. It's really nothing crazy about it. I feel like there's been a lot of disinformation or just uninformed people talking about this gun, saying that it won't work for IDPA or that it's too heavy or this, that, and the other, too wide, won't fit in the box. This thing fits in the box. Even with this safety for me, it fits in the box. But, if you're a left-handed person and you want ambi for sure, I would get the stock style ambi safety. It will fit in the box with this as well. So, yeah, hope that helps. If you guys get any questions, hit me up in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe, that whole thing. Talk to y'all later.